Hi guys, welcome to another Barb Stamps video. Today we're going to be working with the Daisy Delight stamp set that's new in our annual catalog that is effective June 1st. And we're going to make this greeting card. It uses a few stamps from the Daisy Delight. Like I mentioned, it uses this little kind of splattery pattern, which actually goes with this little stem here. But we're going to use it as just some splatter. These little stems that kind of go with this wheat looking stuff, but we're not going to use the wheat. And then we're going to use this kind of two-step smaller daisy to go with that. And I've also pulled a greeting from the Sunshine Sayings stamp set. I wanted to use the word hope. I just thought that it fit really nicely. And who doesn't need a card that says hope? We all need some hope, right? All right, so to get started, we are going to take one of label framelits, lots of labels framelits dies. And this is the third largest one in the set. And I've just cut a little piece of Whisper White out, and that's what we're going to do our stamping on. So we're going to use 3 different colors of ink. We're going to use the Night of Navy, the Old Olive, and the Daffodil Delight. So I'm going to open these up and hope that I don't get my fingers in them, because you can see I've already got some ink on the fingers from some other stamping I was doing today. All right, kind of move those over to the side, move the sample out of the way so I can see it. And we'll bring in our label. And I'm also going to bring in a piece of scratch paper just because I don't want to mess up my fancy grid paper that has my shopping website. Speaking of shopping website, if you need any Stampin' Up! Supplies to create projects that I've shown you, please feel free to order them in my store at Shopping with Barb. I would love you forever. And I'll send you a card. Depending on the size of the order, you may get a gift. And I do have a monthly tutorial, card tutorial that I send to anyone who places an order using my monthly host code that you can find on my blog. Okay. First, we're going to stamp these little kind of stems. So I'll ink those up in the Old Olive and just kind of eyeball that down here towards the bottom of the label, like so. Then we're going to use the kind of bold image, ink that up in Daffodil Delight, but I don't want it full strength because it's a little bit too much. So we're going to stamp that off each time before we actually put it onto our label. Like so. All right. Then we're going to come in with the overlay stamp, which is the line art design. And we're just going to kind of, stamp that over the top of the yellow. Just like that. That's all there is to that. Then we're going to bring in our little hope image. I'm just going to try to eyeball this. Hopefully it's going to be straight. I think that looks pretty good. All right, so that we are done with that now. And I'm going to bring in my layer of Night of Navy, which is 4 by 5 1/4 inches. And we're going to bring in that little kind of, it looks like splatter. It's actually teeny tiny little flowers. Grab the stamp set again here. So these little tiny flowers, when you ink up this stem here, and then you ink up these flowers, they will line up with these little parts of the stem to make a cute little flower pattern, but we're not using it for that today. We're just going to use it for its splatter value, if that's even a term. Get rid of these couple ink pads so that I don't end up sticking my fingers in them. And we're just going to use the Night of Navy. So I'm just going to kind of add some splatter a little bit down here at the bottom, like so. And then we're just going to kind of go up from the center a little bit. It's just kind of random. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect. Obviously, it's not perfect, right? Okay, so can you see the little splatters that I've got there? Well, I have the ink out. I also want to make the edge of the cardstock a little darker so that when I actually have it on my card base, it'll kind of show up a little bit better. So I just take a sponge dauber and I just dab it into my ink pad. And then I'm just going to kind of brush it onto the edge of the cardstock here, all the way around, to get that edge a little bit darker. Maybe go around to a little bit so it's not quite just a line. It looks a little more random as we add just a bit more to the edges here. Okay. that part done. Now I have a strip from our Designer Series paper stack, and this one is called the Delightful Daisy Designer Series paper, and we've got the double-sided patterns in here. This is the one I'm using on this card, and here's the opposite side. These are gorgeous. These are watercolored by Stampin' Up! Artists, and then they transfer them onto Designer Series paper. So, yeah, these people have a lot more talent than I do. I can barely draw a stick man. That's why I stamp. This one I really like. I just love the delicate patterns in this and all the really springy kind of colors. Back side of that. Then we have the daisies. And then the back side of that. Oh, and I just dropped my card right into the ink. Do you ever do that? Oh, good grief, that annoys me. And then the green leaf pattern on the back of that one. So we're going to use this Designer Series paper today. We're going to be using this kind of green striped. And you can see that it's kind of washed. It looks like it's been washed. It's not perfectly even tones, and that is on purpose. That's the watercolored look, so that's on purpose. Can we just get back to my card? Look at that. Look what I just did. I just knocked it over right into my ink pad. Urgh! Okay. All right, so this little strip that I cut is 1 inch by 4.5, and I'm going to slide that into my banner triple punch to give myself that little banner end. And then that's going to just lay right on my card like that. Get some adhesive. Here's my snail. And then I'm just going to place it about 3/4 of an inch up from the bottom. And I want it over about so far, so I'll just end up trimming the rest of this off. Get some paper snips out here. Okay. This little guy I'm going to add with some dimensionals. And we do have 2 sizes of dimensionals when the new catalog goes live on June 1st. We're going to have the regular dimensionals, and then we're going to have the mini dimensionals. And I'm very excited for mini dimensionals. Did you notice that I just pressed my finger onto that before I peeled that off? If you press your finger onto your dimensionals, it'll lift one side of it, and then you can peel it off really easily. Okay, so we'll just lay that on there, like so. Bring in our card base, which is also Night of Navy, so it's 8.5 by 5.5, and I'm going to have to get a little closer to it to see, make sure that I fold it evenly. Because my eyeballs, I've talked about this numerous times, are the worst. And it's a miracle that I can see anything from day to day. Okay, so we're going to add some adhesive to the back of this. Just run some snail around the edges. And then you'll be able to see how adding that sponging to the edge of that layer is actually going to make that layer pop a lot more. So I'll bring that up closer so you can see. You can see around the edge, even though it's the same color, it just kind of pops off the card just by having that sponged edge there. Okay. Final touch for this card is going to be to use some of our metallic enamel shapes. And I do like to use our clear stamp cases to hold lots of my embellishments. These are not listed in the catalog. They're not retired. It was an oversight on Stampin' Up's part. They didn't actually put them in the catalog. You can still order them. I don't have the order number off the top of my head, but I'll put it on the screen. And you can still order them, so they're not retired. And while we're talking here, if you could just give my video a thumbs up, I would just be so incredibly grateful. I love it when you guys do that. It tells me that what I'm showing you, you're enjoying. And so thank you for that. All right, let's get some of these little gems onto our card. I like to use a paper piercing tool because, as I've talked about before, I have no fingernails and it's hard to get underneath these little guys to get them on the card. I'm just using my fingernails. So if I just use the edge of a piercing tool here, then I can easily just pick them right off. What do we have back here? Why is that back there? Who knows, but we'll just use it. And we'll just add that to the bottom. Now I am going to put, I'm going to decorate the inside, so let me get my white piece of paper. All right, I've got a 4 by 5.25 inch piece of Whisper White for the inside. I've got my Old Olive and my Daffodil ink pads in here with me. And so we're just going to basically mimic what we did on the front. Whoops. We'll ink up the stems. What kind of stems? I don't want it too high up, so I am going to bring the stems down just a little bit. Oops, let me move that up. Just a little bit. And then we'll do our same design. We're inking it up and stamping it off once. Get that little guy on there. And then we'll bring in our overlay image. Get those stamped on that also. Okay. And then I'm just going to grab my snail, add some adhesive to the snail. And when I do put the insides of cards together, I like to, here's the front, so then I'm going to open it up. I like to have these three sides be even, so that when the person opens it up and looks in it, it does look even. You don't necessarily need to worry too much about the fold line because it's all dark over here. So even if you were off a little bit in this area, you wouldn't notice that. You wouldn't be able to tell. So there it is, our finished card. I really like this card. I just love the colors. I love the paper. I love the stamps, the embellishments. If you need some supplies, like I mentioned, shoppingwithbarb.com is my website. I would appreciate your orders. Also, you can subscribe to my videos. Right down here is a little button that says subscribe. Click on that. That way, when I upload new videos, you'll be notified, and then you can come check them out. So, have a wonderful day.